So yeah, another one of these, which again is a bit weird. I'm actually, after this, going to watch the third one, which again, it's fun, but weird. Anyway, the one thing I like about this one specifically is, if you've seen The Thing, they have the long arms and like the body horror situation, and seeing how they did that is cool. And being like, excuse me, how? But yeah. Update you here. So yeah, that's a thing. Patreon. There's one for £1. I think a month. I think I've set it up correct, but and the second one of this, which is fun. We're going that one. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you like, and good night. Oh, sorry, thinking about the best way to start it. Probably with a pen, or maybe not. But yeah, Weak Hero Season 2. The one thing which I found was interesting was I saw Season 1. And then I figured out that there was a second season. But because of my list, I put it coming in a while. It's why this thing is a bit chaotic at some points. But I do like it. I do find it fun because it's much things I wouldn't maybe watch originally. This, definitely. Some of the documentaries, maybe not. But yeah, this is fun. This is cool. This is really awesome. It is something that I would recommend to watch because of certain things that are in it. It has funness. It has cool like fights. And I do like some of this. And some of the characters I think are really interesting. And I do think it works well of what Season 1 was into this. Having what happened in Season 1 come through, I think is really fun. The only major thing of spoilers I would want to say is, like I said with the last one, you actually see some of the things that like, not like through flashbacks, but you kind of like sometimes go into like the person, and I like the whole thing of like them being like, oh wait, he killed him, right? And having that be a thing of like, having that like reputation is interesting. And compared to the last one where he wasn't really all like at a position of like, oh, this person. And when now he's coming into, I think, a like new school with this representation of the one in the past. So yeah. I do think this is fun and it is worth watching. But yeah, I don't really have much to say. It's really cool. And the stuff that they do with like how they do with the fights, less who can outfight, but more who can out psychological, is really fun. And yeah, the update. Nothing much yet. Again, if you want to add stuff to the review, this will be available, but I can add stuff through this. Through like saying this and all that stuff. And now, the second best hospital, Season 1! Which would be really funny because I've technically also watched Season 2! I'm not going to talk about Season 2 and Season 1 first! Yeah! So good. I'm at a hospital. And it's the second best one! So yeah, I know that's kind of weird, but I'm getting back into like, I kind of did a bit of, and then this. So I want to do a couple of oddness. So I'm going to do that. I think I did a couple, but anyway, with this. I like it. And I am going to be honest, I have watched Season 2, but I'm not going to talk about it. I'm also not going to, like, after Season 2 make, because you sometimes, if the series is finished, combine them, because I don't know if there's going to be a Season 3. The way it sounds like it might be a Season 3. But again, that's not important for right now. What is important for right now is this. And I like it. I like how both seasons, as you have two of them, have dealt with one of them. And again, not going to talk about Season 2. But Season 1 dealing with this, like, there's this thing that is in it. It's really fun. And really interesting with some of the ideas. Speaking of, one of the things that I thought was really fun in this was two things. One,
I think that goes into your brain and sort of eats up anxiety. And definitely during the end, where they're like, oh, you can talk to different versions of your past, is like, that's interesting. That's very existential. Like, jeez. Like, will I remember? It's like, But I do also like the idea of like, oh, something I can put in my brain to get rid of anxiety. Yes! Like, I know it's not permanent, but it'd be fun. And it does show the dark side, but I can ignore that. Obviously, I wouldn't actually do it because I could be sure what. But I also like the other thing that I like is one of the earlier episodes, which is like, it's like, oh, you died? We're just gonna put you back in time. And it's like, this is cool. And yeah, there's not much to talk about it because most of my favorite things in the 2 seasons is the second season. I'm not gonna do that here. But this first season is really cool. The other thing that I would want to say is the show is good, and the one thing which is good about it, which I'm going to talk more in season 2, is the designs. Because obviously this is sci-fi, a lot of them are like aliens. So a lot of the designs are really creative in that way. So yeah. Update. Ta-da! Not much to hear, but... Do you know what it is? It's for Simpson. Yeah, it's back to this. I had this, so yeah. Let's go! So, we're doing good night. So yeah. I had to re-record this because I think I woke. So my mum was asleep because, it's 9. But anyway, besides that, and respectfully, I probably should have been a bit more quiet, and the door should have been closed, which it is now. Besides the point, we're doing another one of these. But I think I said in the last one, which I didn't want to put Howard in it if I can help it. That's not a problem now. I just don't think she wants to be put public, and I'm not going to force that. Anyway. There is a certain thing about having that in a way that is going to the point that I don't really have a lot to say. Because during the first couple of seasons, you had, here is this character that is connected to, the character that is connected to, why am I always blanking out at really important times? It's like, but it's like how the original was made more down to earth back to when I started watching it, and now I've got to the point where I haven't. And watching it at this, you can see even now it's going into that like first bit, because when I watched it, it didn't have that brightness to it. It looks like the hues are becoming more brighter, which isn't a problem. I'm fine with it. Because if you look at the original, it was a little bit more murky, which I'm fine with and I like. And obviously there is more seasons, which I love. The other thing I want to say is, because I had 2 of these back to back and I didn't want more, the next couple of catch-ups isn't going to be The Simpsons. Because I've been holding The Simpsons until this review. Meaning a couple of other ones are going to be from other sitcoms that I was doing in between. Because I keep it on to make sure that I can keep an eye on my comments. Again, really weird, but yeah. And then this, an update here. Yeah. And then obviously, book. We're going to talk about this tomorrow, but yeah, more Moriarty. Let's do some crime. Kind of, not really, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, with this, I kind of like this sort of series because it's chaotic. Because it shows sort of the whole point of the main character Moriarty. I love if I do this, it's like, the main character Moriarty and the Invisible Book. Which you can clearly, again, that's clearly just stupid. But I love all of these. And this, actually I'm not going to talk about that. That's a spoiler thing. But again,
information. And one of the other things we like, which I think I haven't said too much about, is the paneling, which I think is done in a fun way. It's not done. There's some other comic which I wouldn't say do it better, but have like that dynamic of like panels going into each other. If you know what I mean. Look at my favorite hero. Well, one of my favorite heroes. My favorite actual hero is one of the Spider-Man. And no, it's not Peter Parker. It's Miles Morales. He's the one of my favorite Spider-Mans. That's besides the point. If you look at Gwenpool, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man, she goes through the panels and you have stuff like that and other stuff. Well, you do get some stuff like that, but it's mostly how the panels interact with each other, which is better. But so I knew, actually, I did I not, but I knew this was going to be long. Or at least when I get to sort of this one, was going to be long. Why? Well, simple. What does this book have that the others don't? Well, that's simple. This introduces Moneypenny. And a lot of people are like, oh, what's the point? It's just Moneypenny. It's because the reason why is because I watched the original anime. And the reason why I bought these books is because some people said there were some characters that weren't in the anime that were in the book. If you look at the original, specifically on TikTok, the Pacific Moriarty review for the TV anime, which is not going to get a season 2, I think, at this point, because there's not enough, I think, to make another season, but it's enough that I would want another season. But if you look, they talked about 2 characters not being there. Billy the Kid, not in this yet. I would like one. He wouldn't have been in the anime even if they did it. Definitely because he appears after where the anime has stopped. Which I'm not against. If you want to tell the story up to that point, that's a fair point to end. And I know there is one, like, the little, like, thing that they do is cool, but I do also agree that, like, you could have just not had it. I do think it's a good idea, but I'm fine with it not being in the anime. I do like this, because this has sort of, like, 3 established sort of, like, characters, or sets of characters. You have the Sherlock Moriarty, with the brother Moriarty, even though there's 2 brothers, when traditionally there's 1, actually 3 brothers. That's sort of sharing the Moriarty, and you also have people like Irene Adler, sort of like Sherlock Holmes, Mycroft, and Joan Watson, and I forgot the other person. The person that's also, there's a point where they mention this, but that's going to be important. And they have all those characters. The other one is Billy the Kid. But I don't know much about Billy the Kid, so I'm not going to mention how that's important at all. So yeah, that's that. And in the middle is James Bond. And we have a lot of characters from James Bond. Not only do we have introduced in this book Moneypenny, who is an important figure. If you don't know who Moneypenny is, if I'm correct, if you looked at the Daniel Craig Skyfall film, the person who shot James Bond and later becomes somewhat of a big figure, that I think is the character of Moneypenny. I might be wrong, but that is the character of Moneypenny. You also have, but in this, you have this character as sort of like Moneypenny, who I think is really interesting. You also have Q, which I think which is also sort of being put in position by one of the Moriarty brothers until it gets taken over later on. Actually, I won't mention that bit because that's not important yet. But the current moment is being currently taken on. I'm just going to use it because I have this guy. I have the book here to go and review it in a bit. The other thing that this has is one other thing. it has James Bond. And I'm not going to go into how all of that works, even though I think I already did, but I'm going to try it because that comes later and I want to do that on its own thing. So I like the fact that they have Moneypenny in this because it shows more. They also have, I think, M. No, M's the guy by that one. Q, which I love. M spelled E-M, like M. And Q is spelled Q-U-E, rather than it being the letter and the letter Q. So it's fun. That's a fun idea. It's like, no, we're Q. I don't know if that's a legal thing or what, but I think it's cool. But again, it is a fun idea, and this is one of the characters that I was interested of how they're going to do, and I do find it interesting. Again, this is really good, and the one thing which I haven't mentioned is one of the people who's in it, sort of the sniper of the group, is one character that I like. I was going to say one of my favorites, but it's not, because it would be nowhere close to, I would say number one obviously is Moriarty. Number two is like M, because I like, out of these same zany characters, there's one character that's just like, Auntie? And that's not that simple role, it's more the fact that she is the most normal of the bunch. The others are literally insane, and she's the only one that sort of acts calm. And she does have that like calm, like, I think that's on purpose because she's this spy-like. So that the fact that she can do this calculation is really interesting overall. But it deals with his thing with the war and one person doing this thing, which is really good because the last book sort of deals with the other one. Oh yeah, I forgot this bit. This book ends with the sort of like Watson possibly getting pregnant, but not really a major thing. But it deals with one line which I like. I was just a really fan. I mean, it's like something along the lines of like, oh, what would you say? It's like, catch me if you can, Mr. Holmes, which I think is clever because it's like, oh, I'm joking. You're not this criminal mastermind. But if you were, what would you say to me? It's like we both look at each other and be like, I know who you are, and I know that you know who I am. And I don't know if it's like they know or they sort of are like trying to like game each other out, which is clever. So yeah, an update from here. Update. I never care. So yeah. But yeah, here's another Marvel one, which weirdly enough technically means that this is another one that sort of is another, because Luke Cage, I watch all of them, which is only 2 seasons, and Iris, and I watch all of them, which is the second out of the 5, or technically 4 series if you're dealing with the Defenders, without the Defenders group because that's only one, that the 4 main heroes, that their sort of main thing is other. I know there might be more, like Daredevil, and I'm not going to fuse the Netflix Daredevil with the new Daredevil, even though that would make logical sense. I don't know, because I think they're separate enough to be something, so. But I do think this was a good series, but that'll be for tomorrow. I don't know why I sometimes ramble myself through this, but yeah, I'm not good at this. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah, the second of 4, the countdown has started. And yeah, I know technically there's also, it will technically be, with this sort of Netflix Marvel thing, 6. But because I'm talking about the original group, and I'm not including Defenders, because besides, that doesn't have its own, it's very weird. But debatably, you have Daredevil, which I've done 2 seasons of, Jessica Jones, which I've done 2 seasons of, and both have a 3rd season, Iron Fist, which just has 2 seasons, and this is me reviewing it,
obviously. Iron Fist, Defenders, Luke Cage, sorry, I'm bad with names, which is my favourite. Even though I forgot his name, like a dumbass. It is one of my favourites. And I think there's a thing in Daredevil Born Again, and yeah, that's a whole separate thing. I am going to sort of contain and do a fusion. I've said this before, I'm going to do like putting all the things together, me watching Marvel and Netflix going forwards, because I think that'll be fun. The other thing, which I think is a fun idea, but anyway, do I like this? Because again, I've heard that the second season of both, sort of like Luke Cage and Iron Fist went down in quality. It's good. I like it. I don't know what we're gonna do, and obviously, the more important part. So yeah, one of the things I like about this is the whole transference of the Iron Fist from one person to the other, which first goes to one person who I like, because Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, doesn't really have people in the same that are a good person in the series switch. Within the series, they do have people go to the other side. Jessica Jones had the soldier who was dating Jessica Jones' friend, who went to the other side after using a specific substance, and had the person who later on helped him, and now, after Jessica Jones season 2, works with someone else, which is really interesting. But this one, he went from working against, he worked with Danny Rand in the Iron Fist in the season 1, and then against in season 2. But there is a logical reason, and I also do like the idea that, because for the most part, most of the problematic in season 1 is Danny Rand's sort of friend's father and him being secretive, and his friend's sister being pretty chill. But this one, she's the one that's doing most of the major movements, which I think is clever, and it does have a reason why that is. I also like the fact that at the end, Danny Rand just doesn't have the fist right now. Because this ended and Marvel Netflix sort of didn't become a thing after Disney Plus became its thing and they had their own shows idea, I don't know if that's going to continue. Also, the loop of sort of like a hard reboot reset thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe means that this could completely be wiped. I don't know how it's going to work. They're doing this whole going back to one universe type thing, which I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if that means like the thing in Loki will basically be erased. But again, this is Iron Fist. All I know is this event of like Danny not having the fist in this and someone else might not actually matter and might not have an impact, because I think I heard negative on how it ended. I like it. I think it's interesting, but yeah. But yeah, I do think this is a fun show. And out of the four like Defenders and the personal shows, I do think this is a good one. Do I think it's better than the others? I can't really say with what the 2 seasons I know of Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I would say Iron Fist, I would say, is better than Jessica Jones. But again, that is of a complete 2 seasons and an incomplete 3 seasons. And I think Daredevil, I don't know. Like sometimes when I'm watching these, because like I keep saying, I did watch a bit of it, but I kind of stopped. Jessica Jones I watched a bit of. Daredevil, I kind of just watched the first episode. Luke Cage, I think I only watched the first 2, and The Defenders, I didn't watch any. So I didn't watch too much. And I am still liking this, weirdly enough. I kind of think all of them are good, and they're just as good as each other. That is a fact. I do agree that I love all of them. I don't actually know how much I would rate them, but yeah. Update here. But yeah, the next thing is this.
which is going to be weird, but it's also going to be quick. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and sort of good night. Technically should have been yesterday, but yeah, good night. So yeah, like I keep saying, I found these DVDs, and for the past I've been doing documentaries, and I've got a couple more left. I can't find them currently, but that's besides the point. There is still some left, including an Olympic one. So basically, this is just the sports of Olympic, and besides the opening, which is basically the only one that I've really fully seen. I've seen some of others, but this is still fun to look back on. But it is still fun to watch. And yes, there is this part 2 DVD, so that will come out soon. Update here. But yeah, there's only 2 of these. So yeah, I'm going to fuse these at a certain point. But yeah. Those are 2 things. Apparently that's the wrong one. This is part 1. But anyway, the next one is Black Adam. So yeah, that's going to come out tomorrow. I'll be reviewing it. Enjoy and good night.